Hello everyone. So today we have Mr. Chattanathan, the co-founder of Arya AG, a renowned author whose literary works have captivated readers across. His diverse portfolio includes several best-selling titles such as My Rides with Saib, Anjanama, Igniting Aspirations, The Heal, and Living While Dead. Today we are going to talk about his book Tidbits of Corporate Life. Hello sir.
Hi.
Your first tidbit warns us against dying at 30 and living till 80. What are the early warning signs that a corporate professional has already died inside?
If somebody is not keen to come to office on a daily basis, if he thinks of applying for a sick leave on a daily basis, every Monday if his boss receives saying that I'm not well, it's a sign that he has actually lived 80 being 30.
You see, Roadblocks gives us strength and courage. Can you share a specific roadblock from your time at ICICI Bank that felt like a dead end but became a detour to something better?
See, I'd like to talk about two different times, right, which was there as a little bit of mental block, I would say. Then it turned out to be the best thing for me in life. At some point of time, I thought of resigning in ICICI Bank. The reason was my boss was scolding almost every alternate day, right? Then I used to have this bad habit of recording why somebody scolded me and for what purpose. And I took a day off before resignation and I went and actually flipped through the entire writings. I figured out that I was scolded for a different reason each time. Then suddenly actually it ignited me in a different direction that I should not resign. Because if somebody has pointed out so many mistakes in you, there are two things. One is that so many mistakes were already there and it was not repetitive. That means you have improved upon yourself, right? So what I thought that scolding was actually a barrier, right, turned out to be a good thing to me. Today, if you ask me, I would rate her as my best boss ever. The second thing is that at some point of time in ICICI, there was a problem in a portfolio, right? And they created a job which was not even defined. Everybody in the industry called me and said that you please quit because they are putting you into a control function. And I started a group called Commodity Control Management Group in ICICI Bank at that time. And that became a precursor for what we are today. So Anand, Prasanna and myself worked in that department and later we could actually sow the seeds for the startup there. So Roadblocks became actually the next igniting step for us.
Interesting. So as you mentioned that you used to note down all the scoldings that you used to get from your boss, today's generation of my age, we are not used to people scolding us and telling us. Rather, we expect that, they tell us in a more constructive manner, something which does not directly disrespect us as well. Then how do you, I would say give advice to us in this case?
See, each person would differ in his behavior, right? It cannot be uniform. Neither you can be uniform nor your boss can be uniform, right? It is just not possible. So if somebody is really keen to grow, right, they need to first understand the design of the boss. That's the way I would put it, right? What is the design structure of the boss? So instead of actually reacting immediately, right, and infer that boss is bad or good, you observe him first, right? Then you'll get to know over a period of time the design structure of the boss, whether it is actually his scolding or nurturing. There's a difference, right? So many of the times we as human beings tend to feel that if somebody actually raises the voice, right, he is hurting you. It's not so. Somebody is raising his voice many a times is because he is caring for you. He wants to nurture you. So he wants to tell you that this you're doing wrong. This is the way, if you do it, it will be good. So observe the persons and move ahead. I think the environment is also changing. It's not that people of our age is not recognizing the Gen Z. So as much as you people are trying to figure out what is to be done, the elders like us are also figuring it out how to address Gen Z.
You speak about the power of big brands like ICICI. In today's creator economy, should a professional focus more on their personal brand or their company brand?
Depends upon the individual. what he wants in life, whether he wants stability or whether he is okay to take a little amount of risk in life, determines what exactly the person wants to do. So I would say that if you're slightly risk averse, you want a stable life, work with big brands because it gives a lot of stability to you. But if you feel that you would like to take a little bit of risk, make fun for your life in the early days, experiment it out, work in a small startup. If you have an idea, you want to actually take risk, go and start up.
Okay. If you were, a Gen Z today, what would have been your approach towards this economy?
It depends, as I said, based on my background of ability to take risk. So at this point of time, if I would have born today, I would have been a writer right up in shape.
You mentioned selecting FAT, focused, attitudinally positive, teach and learn people. In a world obsessed with technical skills, why do you believe these three traits are the true predictors of success?
FAT has nothing to do with technicalities, right? It is focused, attitudinally positive, teacher and taught. The word taught is not there in dictionary. I use it as taught. It means to learn, right? As a student. FAT, focused, does not necessarily mean that it is particular job, right? Even if you, for example, in a creative field, if you want to become a singer, you have to be focused. Riyaz, the practice which you do, right, on a continuous basis is being focused on that particular job. If you lose focus for any particular activity, the probability of you failing is pretty high. So even when you have struggles, you need to keep focused, because otherwise environment is so bad that the distractions keep happening on a regular basis. So if you have to thrive, grow on a particular path, be focused. Then the second is attitude. If you're not having positive attitude, right, then the ability to learn diminishes. So you really will feel that I know everything, right? That's a type of nature or attitude. थोड़ा बहुत सीख लिया, हम हो गए हैं बहुत, right? तो attitude हो गया तो growth वहीं खत्म हो जाएगी. It ends there. So you need to be attitudinally positive, right? And the third is actually you'll have to be a teacher and taught. For example, today with so many technologies coming in on a continuous basis, even for people like us, if we still feel that we want to thrive, learning is a continuous process. While on one hand in leadership, you have people to whom you have to nurture. On the other hand, you have to learn various things which are happening in the industry on a continuous basis. If these three are not there, irrespective of any profession, it has nothing to do with corporate life, it has nothing to do with the financial sector, it has nothing to do with manufacturing. Whatever things you do, if you adopt the FAT principle, the probability of you succeeding in life is pretty high.
Okay, interesting. You categorize leaders into those driven by personal growth and those who grow others. Is it possible to be both, or must a leader eventually choose a side to be effective?
It depends upon the stage of the organization, right? So a leader can be both. It's not that only nurturing leaders will not be progressive or progressive leaders will not be nurturing. It's not like that. It's not bilateral. But sometimes, based on the organization's need, right, the short-term objectives come into play. So for example, let's take you and me are there, right? And we are working with a leader. Now, leader has to produce 100 units per day, right? And my ability to produce 80 units is there. Your ability to produce 20 units is there. He has to figure out 100 units, right? The quantum or time he spends with me will be far higher because I am actually reaching 80% of his short-term objectives, right? He will not look and say that, let me bring you also up to 80 so that we go to 160, because there is a short-term objective. And there is a long-term objective or vision that the organization builds, right? So at that particular point of time, if somebody wants to see that after, say for example, a year, I need to move to 160, unless and until I pick you up to 80, the probability of me reaching at 160 will not be there. So as a leader, I need to keep both in mind, right? If I want to sustain it for a longer term. But sometimes a few leaders, because of the shorter term goals or objectives which they keep with the organization, they push for the short term goals. They actually encourage people who do better outputs, back up them, and see that their objective is met. So the person who is actually down is not nurtured. So the person's objective is not met. So a leader has to align both, but based on the need of the organization, sometimes leaders do take a shortcut route also.
Okay, so as you mentioned that, sometimes due to the short-term goal, they do not nurture the ones who are at the lower stage. What is any kind of tip maybe you to give any young professional who's just promoted to a senior role? Any tip for them?
I would say that you should keep eye on everybody, and unless and until you actually take care of people, right? As a leader, you have not grown. So only when people below grow, you as a leader have succeeded. Otherwise, it's your individual dimension. You have not grown as a leader. You have met your personal objective. You have not actually worked as a leader.
Using the auto rickshaw metaphor, you talk about not letting the brain rust. What is your personal daily drive to keep your mind sharp?
It depends upon individual's motivation, right? See what you want to do on a continuous basis. For example, I am disciplined in writing. 70-80% of the days I write between 10 to 2 in the night. So something else drives you inside to keep your engine awake, right? Otherwise you would have slept. Everybody sleeps at 9:30, 10 o'clock. I sleep at 2:30 because the drive which is there to say that my brain has to continuously think and write is what is actually making me drive. And if somebody actually continues to sleep, then the brain doesn't function because it's as good as death. So if a human being is not active and if his brain doesn't think and he doesn't create anything which is valuable to the society, I feel he's as good as dead.
Do you not think that discipline sometimes makes a performance performative rather than productive? So being disciplined every day is a good thing, but sometimes forcing yourself to be disciplined, that makes us do work which not might result into what we were actually aiming for.
Physically, suppose let's take for example you want to run 100 meters race, right? You're practicing on a daily basis, same 100 meters, right? You started with X seconds. After a month, where would you be if you start running on a daily basis?
Much lower seconds than the first day.
Much lower seconds. So that answers the question, right? Okay. So there's a conscious effort. On the other hand, you're running. I'll shift the answer. I'm going daily. I'm running 100 meters daily, but there is no aspiration for me to improve, right? I will still, after the end of 30 days also, I will remain where I was. Just because I am putting physical effort does not increase my speed. So the urge in me, right, the passion in me to say that what I was yesterday is not what I want to be today, right? It's applicable across. It's just not in a particular activity alone. So human beings have this tendency to compare with peers, right? And many a times they wriggle out because they are not reaching there. The best way of doing these things is to say, I do a self-evaluation exercise at the beginning, whichever work we are doing, right? I take the same example of 100 meters and say that today I will start. My end goal is X. I have to put a delta 1, 1, 1, 2, 3 to reach that X, right? So I will not starve. I will not start with 10 units of delta. I will start with 1 unit of delta and figure out how do I cover that 1 unit. So that's a process. So when I say discipline, that's the discipline which I am talking about. So discipline does not mean doing the same activity at the same speed without innovation. That's not discipline, right? We are talking about discipline in terms of saying that if I take a particular activity to complete, I do it on a regular basis. For example, if I am writing a book today, I cannot write the book unless and until I have an idea, right? So it starts with ideation. But unless and until I type it out, the idea remains in the processor, the brain, right? So if I have to type out and say that I have to release the book in next six months, right? I perhaps will have a typing speed. So I need to figure out and say that how do I type? Or I need to engage with somebody and pay for that, right? Both can be done. But even if I'm paying for somebody, I should have the discipline to go and tell the story to somebody else. So that's a discipline. Because in any process, unless and until you ingrain that in your lifestyle, it will not happen.
That was informative. You noted that no one is indispensable. How do you handle a star performer who knows they are valuable and starts becoming toxic to the culture?
Nobody is indispensable in any organization. It's not particular to a particular place, a particular job. The ability of leaders to take tough decisions depends upon the ability of the leader either to work by himself or to enable somebody to work. Let's take, for example, a star performer is there in an organization. He is producing 100 units, right? And all others are producing 10 units. Now he is doing something wrong and building a toxic culture, as what you said. As a leader, the first thing is the fear which is there in my mind that the day I remove him, 100 units is going out.
Correct.
There are two options in front of me, right? One, the moral dilemma to say that whether I should remove him out or whether I should have the guts and ability to say that I will fail for some period, but the ability in me to nurture others to get to that 100 is pretty high, right? So that confidence comes from the individual attitude of the leader, right? So if I would have been there and if I see somebody going and doing something bad against the culture of the organization, I would kick him out first and figure out how to get the balance back. So leadership, then what happens in the system is that when such a thing you do, right, people around you, right, become very conscious about what can happen to them. And I can tell you with certainty that nobody in any organization, right, is indispensable. Organization should feel, on the other hand, that so and so is indispensable. So that's the beauty of any organization. So you create, for example, let us say you have created a company. The beauty of the company is that, and you are the MD of that particular company, and the company has grown big, right? The company is constituted of the board, and the board will have the ability to remove you even though you have created the organization. There are multiple examples across the globe which you would have seen. So did the organizations perish?
No.
Why? What happened? So the personality which you have framed in your mind, saying that so and so has created the organization, is one day overnight wiped off. So if that is the case, we are all small individuals.
You once opened a locker and paid the rent yourself for a customer. Where is the line between exceptional service and breaking the rules for a customer?
Paying to a customer is not breaking a rule, right? I have enabled intermittent cash flow gap for that particular customer. Compliance, which is there, is important for us, right? Any organization, wherever you're working, if the ground rules are there, we will have to actually ensure that the ground rules are followed. But there are various instances when you do service, right? The service is not falling within any of the rules. That is when the leadership takes that position, that decision-making position, right? So whatever is not defined, whatever is gray, your ability to respond, right, determines the type of leadership. For that particular point of time which you are talking about, which is there in Tidbits, the customer I sensed, right, has the ability to pay, but at that particular point of time, because I did not want to lose the customer, I enabled the payment, right? Okay. The only risk which I am carrying there is that suppose due to reason whatsoever, my assumption that the customer has money goes wrong, the maximum that I would have lost is probably the money which I gave to the customer to pay. Other than that, I don't run much of the risk. So in life, you do many times a calculated risk. And calculated risk always has better rewards than not taking risk. So it is not a compliance issue, it's a risk issue. Because I did not go out of the way and opened a locker to a customer who is fraudulent. Right? I opened a locker to a customer whom I believed has the ability to pay. So what I have done, I have not broken the rule, I have taken a risk. So the loss which probably I would have got is to say that if the customer doesn't pay the money back, probably that amount I would have lost. Other than that, I have not violated any of the banking norms in terms of know your customer guidelines, taking the identity proof, taking the introduction, etc. All the things were complied with. So it's not making compliance. It's taking a little amount of risk.
Okay. You enrolled in a typing course in your 30s just to save 15 minutes a day. What is the one small skill you think most corporate workers are missing today that would save them hours?
It's very difficult to answer because it depends upon the individual weakness of the person, right? Suppose, let's say for example, a job function, like for example in your case, which people are on the editing role, etc., right? That defines the person to continuously read, right? So for that particular person, ability to read is the critical factor, right? So today, for example, if I am reading 30 words for essay a minute, right? Can I go and figure out a mechanism to read 60 words a minute? Are there processes for it? So if I am in a position to do that, I would enable and save time. So it depends upon the nature of work which you're doing. Now, for example, let's do. Of course, it is you have to type. You have, on the other hand, ChatGPT, right? If your constructive processes are clear, if your thought processes are clear, instead of typing, probably putting it in ChatGPT will give a better result. So it's an instrument which is there for you to use. So ability to use the instrument, right, to save time, saves hell a lot of time to you. So it's not a direct answer to anything because each individual function merits different types of activities based on the activity which the person is doing, right? Then you need to figure out how to do the job. Let's say, for example, a salesperson is there, right? And he has to meet customers in 3 different directions, right? And each of the distance is 5 kilometers, right? And there are 3 buses which goes to 3 different customers. Bus 1 goes as X time, so he has to actually correlate each of the times and go and meet the customer. So the immediate suggestion for him to improvement would be to say that, can I hire a motorcycle, right? So that alternate thought process of enabling the customers, enabling the employees also has to be not only from the employee standpoint of view, but from the organization standpoint of view also. So sometimes organizations enable people to equip themselves for these talents so that their speed increases. That's how it is.
If someone is torn between stability and risk, how should they decide?
It depends upon the appetite of the person.
Okay.
Because if you want to have a stable income every month, I want to have a salary, I will not go into a startup. I would have continued in the same job because it was giving me fat salary.
Okay. If you had to describe this book in one word beyond corporate, what would it be?
Tidbits of Corporate Life you're talking about. I would say a Bible.
Okay.
For work.
Bible for work. Okay. So we'll do a fun session. One word answer. Growth happens when?
Growth happens when you think to grow.
The biggest enemy of young professionals is?
Biggest enemy of young professionals, lethargy.
A true leader always
thinks of others.
Passion without discipline is?
A passion without discipline cannot exist. A passionate person will be 99.99% disciplined in whatever he wants to.
Okay. Promotion comes to those who?
Think of getting promoted.
One habit every young manager must build?
Attitude positive.
One thing corporates must stop doing?
Bullying others.
Gen Z in one word?
Highly energetic.
Leadership means?
Taking care of others.
Success without happiness is?
Not achieved.
If you want long-term success, you must?
Be disciplined.
This or that. Experience or attitude?
Attitude.
Passion or stability?
Passion.
Promotion or learning?
Learning.
Corporate politics, reality or excuse?
Reality.
Speed or structure?
Structure.
Okay. So I recently saw one of your posts on LinkedIn related to restlessness. If restlessness is the tension between what is and what could be, how should one sit with that tension without being consumed by it?
It depends upon the person, right? Consumption is good. You consume food to get energy. So consumption is not bad. When you consume without intent, excess consumption or low consumption without understanding what you're getting consumed of is a problem. So consumption itself is not a problem. So for example, if you are spending 12 hours, 13 hours on a particular project, right? So you're a scientist, you're spending on a project and you're spending 12, 13 hours a day, right? You will not get consumed because you're happy doing it. The reason is that you know the end objective, that this particular project is going to give this output, right? When you know that this is the test, because I think in that article itself I had written about it also, right? Saying that if the restlessness does not have an anchor, right, then it is not a good restlessness. It will create all the problems to you. For example, somebody is working. Let's take for example, boss ने target दिया, दौड़ना है, right? So it's not mine. Target has been imposed on me by somebody else. So I am driving. So mentally it is creating a struggle in me, right? So you're consumed. Let me put it the other way. I have to achieve, right, 100 rupees worth of target today. I have decided myself. It's a pleasure for me. So I will drive myself. I will move. It will not consume. So today, for example, we were talking about writing. Writing will consume, right? You're sleepless, but it doesn't destroy me because I am feeling happy about what I am doing. So consumption is good. Anything which you're restless, you know that this is the end objective which you want to do, and you know the path to it, right? Because of which you're becoming restless. I feel that you will not get consumed.
Before we wrap up, your next book, Modern Darbar, is releasing soon. What inspired this book and what powerful message are you bringing to readers this time?
I feel that AI, artificial intelligence, is encroaching across spectrum. So this book, while it's a fiction, to me it is futuristic, right? I feel that a lot of people are going to lose jobs. And there is going to be a drain in their mind, right? Some might get into suicidal tendencies also. So in the fiction, I have tried to create two different environments. One, a positive environment where I am creating a structure in place, and one, a negative environment where I am actually pushing crime in the fiction, because both these things will happen. Possibility. So it's actually a fiction where I am asking people to think about themselves. I am asking institutions to think about the people in a way of a fiction.
How is Modern Darbar different from Tidbits of Corporate Life?
Modern Darbar is a fiction, right? It talks about something which is going to happen in future. It talks about the emotions of the people, and it tries to give alternatives. Tidbits is a way of life, how you actually perform a day-to-day functions in the corporate life. So it's entirely different. Tidbits, I would say, as I said it early, you can say Bible for corporate life, right? So it's a Modern Darbar is a seed for thinking, actually, because somebody has to think through when the displacement happens. How are we going to address the people who are displaced?
Any message for the viewers from your end?
I would say that as long as you're convinced in what you want to do, please doing it. As I said, discipline works out wonders.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.